The hour of convening having arrived, all members of the House will please come to the floor and take their seats. All members of the House will come to the floor. The clerk will ring the bell. All members of the House of Representatives will come to the floor. Due to the time constraints that we're going to be under this morning, I'm going to ask the clerk to ring the bell one more time. Doorkeepers will please close the doors and keep them closed. No, I didn't forget that we need to do the roll call. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to have our devotion. Then we're going to do the panoramic picture immediately upon conclusion of the pledge, which means I'm going to ask you for, until we get that done, I know that we all like to greet our chaplain of the day, and he's a very fine one, but we're going to defer on that until after the panoramic picture is completed. I always look forward to the panoramic picture. And I really look more forward to him taking the equipment down and getting it out of here so we can work. Then we have other groups. We have a lot of groups coming in today, some very special groups, but that's going to be our schedule. So we will take a roll call after we do the picture. We're going to have scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the chairman of the House Insurance Committee, the gentleman from the 134th House District, Chairman Richard Smith. Chairman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. God, they look better like this, don't you? Can't see them. You know, when I was thinking about how I was going to introduce my pastor and my really dear friend, I called him and was talking to him about an issue, and I said, well, I'm just going to say, well, here's Jimmy, and go sit down. But Pamela, my administrative assistant, said, no, I don't think you need to do that. I said, yes, ma'am. You know, to really get to know someone, I mean, really know them and know where their heart is, these things that occur in your life that kind of bring you together with this individual. And I want to tell you 2 or 3 things about my friend and Pastor Jimmy Elder. When my mother died 7 years ago, he drove 3 hours just to be with me and my family for support. He's done the dedication of some of my grandkids. And he provided, I did the service when my grandson died. You really get to know someone. And I guess the closing part of this, Jimmy Elder loves First Baptist Church in Columbus, but he also loves God even more. So I'm going to introduce you to my friend and my pastor, Jimmy Elder.
Thank you, my dear friend. My first pastorate, I had a pot-bellied stove that sat right in front of me. I didn't get much response out of it either, so we'll... Richard Smith is one of those laymen at First Baptist Church who not only is a good church member, but a very dear friend. He's respected and effective as a part of our community and a part of our church family. He's a nearly back row Baptist. You know how those are. He's faithful to attend, supportive of his pastor, and I've watched him walk through a lot of things. We have been through a lot of things together, buddy. But I always find that he is strong in his faith, he's true to his commitment, and he's true to the commitment to his constituents. Richard's a statesman in the truest sense of the word, and I'm proud that he is my friend. I'm proud to be his pastor, and I'm proud to be one of his constituents. I also bring you greetings from Tom Buck. I'm his pastor too, and he always wants me to send a word to you and say hi. He loves you, and he appreciates you and appreciates the place that you have in his life. Did you see the story that was out not too long ago about the black Labrador in Seattle, Washington, that got on the bus in the mornings and would ride to the dog park by himself, herself? As it turns out, what would happen is the dog wasn't on there as a seeing eye dog or for any particular function. The dog would just get on in the mornings with the master and ride to the dog park, and then the master would ride back home. Well, one day, the master was out taking a smoke before he got on the bus, and Eclipse, the Labrador, got impatient. And the bus drove up, the doors open, and the guy was still smoking, and so Eclipse just ignored him, got on the bus, sat in the seat like she always did, rode to the dog park. When it got to the right stop, got off, got out, played with her friends, and then got back on the bus and rode back home. And as it turns out, that became a habit. She'd just go down to the bus stop and do exactly the same thing every day. The interesting thing is, as I looked at that story, I started thinking about how in the world would a dog figure out how to do this? And it's very clear. The person that led that dog taught the dog to do what she did. Taught her how to get on the bus, where to sit, how not to mess with other people, to watch out the window and to know when the stop was, to know when to get off, where to go when she got off, know where to get back on and go back home. It took leadership on the part of the person that owned that dog to plan for the dog to be able to do what she did. It was never intentional. It was just good leadership, and it stuck with that dog. I started thinking about that, especially when you think about our community in Columbus. We're privileged to share community with Fort Benning, and the insignia of the infantry school bears the words, "Follow me." This idea has developed wonderful leaders and has offered protection for our nation for generations. And if the leadership is strong, there will be people who will follow. And if people follow well, the future is always bright. Jesus was no stranger to this concept of leadership. And at the very beginning of some of his leadership, we find him in Matthew 4:18 through 20, with these words. Now, as Jesus was walking by the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, who was called Peter, and Andrew, his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And he said to them, "Follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men." Immediately they left their nets and followed him. And it began a journey where they watched and they learned and they became, and even after he was gone, they knew what to do because the leadership was good. My parents always taught me to watch the people you follow. Be careful who you choose to follow, because they can lead you to good, they can lead you to bad, they can tempt you to things, or they can lead you into the things that will absolutely open doors and make a difference in your life. As a minister, I realize the stewardship of leadership just by standing in a pulpit on Sundays and preaching a sermon or wherever I go, having that. And I know you understand that also as legislators. You understand that you are up here about leadership. Doing the right thing, doing the good things, and letting others see you, and that inspires them to know when to get on, how to act, what to do, where to get off, how to get back, and how to do the things that are best for this state. That's one of the wonderful stewardships of your position. Who's learning from you? Who's following you? Who is patterning his or her life after you? Who's learning a path day by day that will change their lives, and they may even end up here one day because they learned something from you and they respect you in your leadership positions? You just never know. A friend of mine told me that a person came to his firm and was talking about how people manage and how people have customers and clients at that particular firm. And he said this man had been in it a long time, and he was a master of taking things and putting it very simply. The man told him, he said, there are 3 things that make a person trade with you in financial matters. He said there are 3 things. They like you, they trust you, and they feel they'll be advantaged by you. They like you, they trust you, and they feel they'll be advantaged by you. And it takes all 3 of those things for the leadership to take place and for people to begin to follow. Last Sunday at First Baptist Church of Columbus, I was teaching the children a concept during the children's message. I was trying to teach them how God forgives us, and so we need to forgive others. So God gives us something, and we take it and go share it with someone else. I decided that I wanted to use a visual. So all these children were sitting around me. This little boy was sitting to my left, and I had a bag of suckers, lollipops. And so I opened the bag, I handed it to him, and I told a story about a time when a teacher had done that, and the kid didn't give them out right, and the teacher took it back. And I talked about how once you're given something, you share it. And I said, would you share those lollipops with the other children? And this little boy got up and quietly went and handed each of the children lollipops. What I didn't realize was I had a really great congregation Sunday and a lot of children. And the last lollipop he held in his hand, and there was a child that wanted it, and he gave it to the child. And he stood there with an empty bag, said nothing, didn't look back at me like, do you have another one? Didn't say, I didn't get one. Didn't say, may I have one? Can you find me one? Didn't hold it back from somebody else. And more importantly, he didn't take it and stick it in his pocket to start with to make sure he had one, whether anybody else did or not. He waited and ended up without any. He left to go to the children's church with our children's minister, and as he did, I told the congregation, I said, you don't know what just happened, but it's a more powerful sermon than anything I'll preach today. And I told him what little Isaac Pickering had done and how he had given his last lollipop to somebody else rather than keeping it for himself. I said, that actually teaches the lesson far better than anything that I'll tell you. Now, what I didn't tell you is that his dad is a chaplain for the U.S. Army at Fort Benning. You know, one of those guys that says, follow me, one of those guys that's teaching these soldiers. His son had so seen in the life of this man that kind of giving spirit and generous spirit that when the moment came, that the challenge came in the little boy's life, it was second nature. He didn't have to think. He didn't have to wonder. There was no dilemma to it at all. He was following because he liked his daddy and he trusted his daddy and he knew he could be advantaged by his daddy. That, my friends, is a leader, one who's worthy of being followed, liked, and trusted, and one whose values and actions advantage anyone who's willing to follow. This is an aspirational goal for you and for me as well we fill our stewardship positions of servant leadership. Who's following us? What will they learn and how will they do? It's really up to you and it's up to me. Will you join me as we pray? Spirit of God, be upon this body as they meet. You have given them a stewardship and placed them here. The mandate is for them to lead and for us to follow. As they do, may the weight of the stewardship be on their shoulders, the privilege of the stewardship on their hearts, the hope of the stewardship in their lives, and seeing how it plays out in the lives of those of us who follow them. May your strength be with them, your wisdom there, and your guidance in all things. It is in your name we pray that you bless the opening of this session. Amen. Will you join me in the pledge to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir.
I'm going to ask the doorkeepers to unlock the doors momentarily. Go ahead and unlock the doors. We're going to close them back. Mr. Clerk, I'm going to ask you to ring the bell one more time. Final call for the panoramic picture. Okay, we're going to have all the staff members and the doorkeepers, the administrative personnel against the walls. Hey, George, do I get to empty out the press gallery? And I'm not going to evict the press. If y'all want in the picture back there, you're welcome to stay. And if not, we're going to take a picture here momentarily. Don't tempt me to put that on the board and vote it either. So. Okay, I'm going to turn the podium over to George Pearl now, and you will follow his instructions from here on. George?
Good morning, ladies and germs. I'm George Pearl from Atlanta Panorama. We've been shooting this long, skinny photo since Tom Murphy was here, and I'm privileged and honored to be back again to make your official group photo today. I have my family here. We're a family business from Atlanta, of course. I've got my son, Ryan Hunter, behind us helping me, and my wife, Claudia, is up in the balcony turning on lights for us and working the lights for the back rows. Now, some of you have been in this picture before and know what's going to happen. Some don't. We're the long, skinny photo people. The camera will start taking a picture on the right side of the room and then continue around, rotating around with the light until it gets around all the way to the right side of the room. Now, some of these people are actually sitting in back of me, so the picture will be about 200 degrees when it's finished, and you'll see something like this. Okay, so this is what we're trying to accomplish. Now, I shoot this on speculation, hoping that the picture will be good enough that you'll want to buy one. And we're going to set up a display of the photos over here in the ante room, probably next week, with an order box where you can place an order. I've had a lot of people ask me, are the past pictures available? And yes, they are. And I started shooting this when Tom Murphy left. So Tom was in the last picture I shot, the first picture I shot with the stand-in desk here. He remodeled the whole place, and they had the old desk remodeled, and they had some little plywood desk or something in here, and that was the first picture I shot. If you want to order an older picture, just write in the years that you want on the order form, and we'll figure it out from there. No problem. Okay, now, staff, you can come on down. Move on down, move on down. Both sides, move on down to the end here. Keep going, stop right there. Staff, come on down on both sides. That's good, that's wonderful. Keep on coming. Looks like we've got more staff now. What happened? Come on down. Phil, come up a little bit. There you go. Okay, now, there's going to be a bright light hit you in the face. When the picture is being made, you'll see this light hit you. Now, you don't have to look directly into this light. You can just look straight ahead, and that'll be wonderful. You'll look wonderful. Just face the camera, and everything will be fine. Now, this is all set up yesterday, and I hope everything will work right. And I can't hold the microphone and turn the light and everything and operate the camera, so I'm going to put this down.
Okay, thanks. All right. Okay, we're restarting the picture now. Okay. All right, let me know when it goes. All right, it's going around, so look your best. Be sure to smile. Okay, so 160. We're moving to the aisle now.
Lady in red.
All right. Going around to 168. Slowly but surely.
Don't any of
It'll
you
come through.
Democrats think you can get up and run around and be in the picture 2 times again like Mr. Teeper did, because you'll have to pay double for that picture. You're in the picture 2 times.
All right. So it's the left of the aisle now. There we go. Looking right at you. 150.
Okay, on the aisle over here now.
All right, we're on the left aisle.
Very nice. Very nice. Last group.
Look nice. Say cheese. All right, just one more picture after this. And then we're going to do it another time. And then that should be it. So we're coming back around now for the second time. Second time's a charm. Let it be known. Is it going?
Okay, one more time around, and then I'll be done. And I certainly thank you for your attention and your support. Here we go on the left, on your right. Here we go. Starting.
All right, we're starting.
Moving. Photographing. Yes, all of these are taken in individual shots. So we used to use film, and it took one picture at a time, all on one sheet of film. But now we're doing it digitally, and all of these get spliced together into one picture, and it works really well. Now we're at Lady at Red.
Lady at Red.
Now we're almost to the aisle.
Okay.
Looking at Mr. Speaker.
All right. Dead center.
Very good. Very good. Very nice.
Y'all looking good. Looking real good. You're going to like this. You're going to like this photo.
Now, when you order a picture, we deliver all the pictures to you. That's part of it. And we'll have it all delivered before the end of the trip. Here we are to the aisle.
All right.
Coming around.
Coming to the end. To the left side.
One more. Gotta get the lady in yellow over here.
And we're about done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Y'all are such a beautiful crowd of people. Thank you.
Okay, if I could have your attention just a moment. George tells me he's going to expedite dismantling the equipment here. Before we do anything further, we have a group of guests that are in the speaker's office, and they're going to come out, and we're going to recognize them first because they're on kind of a tight schedule. They got to get to practice. So we're going to have an invite resolution. So Chairman Smyrie, if you'll stay close and keep your guest with us. And George, as fast as you can move, I'd be grateful. This House will come to order. All members, please take your seats. All members, please take your seats. We have a very special group that we want to honor, a group that we're very, very proud of. They're making history over at Phillips Arena. Chair recognizes for an invite resolution Chairman Calvin Smyrie. Chairman Smyrie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and members of the House. It's my pleasure to bring to you today the members of the Atlanta Hawks family, and at this time, if the clerk will read a resolution.
House Resolution 49 by Representative Smyrie, the 135th, Ralston the 7th, O'Neill the 146th, Abrams the 89th, Gardner the 57th, and others. A resolution commending the Atlanta Hawks and inviting them to be recognized by the House of Representatives and for other purposes.
Mr. Speaker and ladies and gentlemen of the House, it's a pleasure for me to come today. Several weeks ago, a friend of mine called me and wanted me to meet Steve Coonan, and I had a chance to go over last week and to sit with him and to meet him and his leadership team. And I came back and I went to see Speaker Ralston and asked him, could we bring the Hawks over? And at that time, we didn't know they would have won 16 straight games. The 20th longest winning streak in the NBA, and of course we hope for better things. And I sat with Steve and his leadership team, and we talked about basketball, but more importantly, we talked about corporate social responsibility. And that the organization would not only preach a corporate social responsibility, but would practice it as well. So it's a pleasure for me to introduce the CEO of the Atlanta Hawks, and person I've gotten to know over the past few days, and his leadership team. So if you all would please welcome, he's going to introduce the other guests, Dominique and David. But at this time, I'd like for you to give a warm welcome to Steve Coonan, the CEO of the Atlanta Hawks. Steve?
Thank you so very much. As a Georgia native, this is a career highlight. Mr. Speaker, Representative Smyre, ladies and gentlemen of the House. This is truly a great honor for the Atlanta Hawks and for Phillips Arena, for our current and our former players. We are humbled and we are honored to be here today. The recognition of the accomplishments we've had should really go to our fan. From LaGrange to Macon to Ellijay, the Atlanta Hawks have become Georgia's team. We also must thank you for the role that you had in building Phillips Arena. Phillips Arena has become the epicenter of entertainment in Georgia. It is an economic engine that helps drive the economy. It's important for you to know that we are the #1 venue in the Southeast. We are the #4 arena in the United States. And I'm proud to say Phillips Arena is the #10 venue in the entire world. And we employ over 1,500 people with 160 events, and we plan to continue to grow to over 200 events and add hundreds more jobs in the process. Now, we know Georgia was named the #1 state to do business in, and we certainly can attest to that. It is also one of the great career highlights to be here when we have just set the professional record for wins by a Georgia sports team, 16 in a row. Thank you. Our success on the court is leading us to having the fastest growing attendance in the NBA, television ratings that now exceed 70% growth over last year. And it's not just in Georgia, it's Tennessee, it's Florida, South Carolina, the entire region's tuning in. And the best part about today is I'm joined up here with the greatest Hawk who has ever played the game, who's ever adorned the uniform, Dominique Wilkins. We all know Dominique brought it on the court, but you talk about pro-social, about the community, about caring about the health care of the people of Georgia. Dominique has put tireless hours and efforts into healthy living, to help fight diabetes, and to make our state a healthier place to live. He is a leader of our Hawks family, and it is my pleasure to introduce to this incredible body, Dominique Wilkins.
Thank you very much, Steve. Thank you. Well, I'd just like to echo those sentiments by Steve Coonan, who's really the leader of our organization. I've been here over 30 years, and this is the first time that this team has been recognized in this way. And it is a testament to Coach Budenholzer, what he's doing to get these guys to buy into his system. So it's been a very fun year for us. It's been a pleasure for me to be a part of such of a great system. But again, it's because of Steve Coonan, the reason why this organization is excelling. And I'm just a pleasure to be alongside him on this ride, and it's been the most fun I've had in a very long time. So I want to thank all of you for giving us this resolution. It's a very important resolution for us, and it's just a statement of now continue that history in our city, making the Hawks that out front team that's building that history, building a legacy for our young people, and I'm glad to be a part of it. So I want to thank everyone here for recognizing us with this award, but I also like to give the speaker one of our basketballs from our team in appreciation for this award. So we'd like to say thank you, Mr. Speaker, for everything you've been to the state of Georgia, and we appreciate you. So thank you very much.
Also, David Lee, the Vice President of the Atlanta Hawks. Give him a round of applause, David. Thank you for being here. The players and the coaches will be up in the Senate mezzanine from 11:30 to 1 o'clock for photos. So after we adjourn, please stop by to get photos. Kyle Cover, Elton Brand, Coach will be there, so please come by. We're going now directly to the Senate. Won't be able to take photos here, but the Hawks, the team will be up in mezzanine, Senate mezzanine from 11:30 to 1. So we're going to thank y'all very much for, please give it up for the Atlanta Hawks. Thank you.
Good to see you. From one Georgia boy to the other, you know?
Steve, right here.
This is all Georgia right here, by the way.
Steve, thank you very much. Thank you for what you do. Go Dogs. Yeah, absolutely.
That's right. Nothing will. That's right. That's right. Well, again, I appreciate you. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Hang on here 1 second. I got one more thing I think they need to know he didn't say. What Steve didn't tell y'all is that Dominique and I went to college together. True story. Actually, I was in law school when he came to Georgia. He's not only the greatest Hawks player in history, he's the greatest Georgia Bulldog basketball player in history, too.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
And you know, they're having a pretty good run this year.
Yeah, they are. They're doing pretty good. They're doing pretty good. We're proud of them. But thanks again.
Thank you, Steve.
Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Love to have you.
Good to see you again.
Thank you. Let's let this kind of settle down. And how many do we have here for the holiday? How many people? I think we'll do a little business and get them organized. Take about 5 or 10. Okay. In keeping with a busy morning, clerk's going to ring the bell. We're going to do the morning roll call. Ask the clerk to ring the bell. All right, we're about to have the morning roll call. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Who's got the doctor of the day? I know I'm just bouncing around. Okay. Where is she? Oh, there she is. Mary Margaret, are you ready? Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. House will be in order. The chair recognizes Representative Oliver to introduce the doctor of the day. Representative Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm very pleased today to introduce to you Dr. Henry Siegelson, a neighbor of mine in the Emory community. He's been an emergency room physician all over the metropolitan area and is with Southern Regional Hospital today. He has the Emory Jazz Alliance Quartet, which we should all go hear, and he's a fisherman of stripers. Thank you, Dr. Siegelson.
Thank you so much for having me today. I've been working in Metro Atlanta as an emergency physician for 31 years and working with the Georgia College of Emergency Physicians, taking care of your families who come to the emergency room and people who can pay and people who can't, everybody who needs it 24 hours a day. And it's a pleasure to be here with you today. And if you need me, come to Doc of the Day. I'll be happy to see you.
Thank you, Doctor. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for
Let's get a picture here with Representative Oliver.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Chair recognizes Chairman Chokus, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee of Information and Audits has reviewed the journals of the previous legislative day and have found them to be correct.
Chairman Chokus, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day.
Mr. O'Neill, the 146 moves that the following be established as the order of business during the first part of the period of unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of House bills and resolutions. Second reading of bills and resolutions. Morning orders.
Or at least go to the Holocaust. Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? The chair hears none and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 1 by Representative Pico, the 141st, Gravely, the 67th, Kaiser, the 59th, Ramsey, the 72nd, McCall, the 33rd, and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 34, Title 43 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated as to change certain provisions relating to the use of marijuana for treatment of cancer and glaucoma.
Judiciary, non-civil.
House Bill 21 by Representative Carson of the 46th, Roberts of the 155th, Jacobs of the 80th. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 32-9-9 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to the creation of the Transit Authority by special legislation.
Transportation.
House Bill 26 by Representative Bruce of the 61st, Brooks of the 55th, Williams of the 168th, Pruitt of the 149th, Marin of the 96th, and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 11 of Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to the general provisions regarding preparation for and conduct of primaries and elections.
Which one did you just read, Bill?
26.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 32 by Representative Mitchell of the 88th and Scott of the 76th. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 1 of Title 35 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to general provisions relative to law enforcement officers and agencies.
Public Safety and Homeland Security.
House Bill 37 by Representative Randall of the 142nd. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 15 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to courts.
Judiciary, non-civil.
House Bill 82 by Representative Kidd of the 145th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 12-3-4 to the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to the Oconee River Greenway Authority.
Natural Resources.
House Bill 83 by Representative Benton of the 31st, Quick of the 117th, England of the 116th, McCall of the 33rd, Hatch of the 150th, and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 48-9-3 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to levy of motor fuel excise tax.
Transportation.
House Bill 84 by Representative Chokus of the 138th, Meadows of the 5th, Duncan of the 26th, and Smith of the 134th. Bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 24 of Title 33 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to insurance generally.
Insurance.
House Bill 85 by Representative Harrell of the 106, Kidd of the 145th, and Epps of the 144th. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 3 of Title 3 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated related to prohibitive acts relative to the regulation of alcoholic beverages.
Regulated industries.
House Bill 86 by Representative Benton of the 31st, Dempsey of the 13th, and England of the 116th. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 6 of Title 49 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to services for the aging.
Human Relations and Aging.
House Bill 87 by Representative Willard of the 51st. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 47 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to retirement and pensions.
Judiciary.
House Bill 88 by Representative Prince of the 127th. A bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating a new charter for the city of Stapleton.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 89 by Representative Bruce of the 61st, Brooks of the 55th, and Beasley Teague of the 65th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 16-13-32.6 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to manufacturing, distributing, dispensing, or possessing.
Judiciary non-civil.
House Bill 90 by Representative Willard of the 51st, a bill to be entitled an act to amend the Official Code of Georgia annotated so as to revise, modernize, correct errors or omissions in and react the statutory portion of said code.
Judiciary.
House Bill 91 by Representative Coleman of the 97th, Dixon of the 6th, Clark of the 101st, Maxwell of the 17th, and England of the 116th, and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the elementary and secondary education.
Education.
House Bill 92 by Representative Benton of the 31st, Hatch of the 150th, Dempsey of the 13th, Kaiser of the 59th, and Cooper of the 43rd. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 1 of Title 34 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the general provisions relative to labor and industrial relations.
Industry and labor.
House Bill 93 by Representative Peasold of the 133rd, Ramsey of the 72nd, Allison of the 8th, Atwood of the 179th, Powell of the 32nd, and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 1 of Title 40 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions for the identification and regulation of motor vehicles.
Public safety and homeland security.
House Bill 94 by Representatives Willard of the Williams of the 119th, Yates of the 73rd, Atwood of the 179th, and Belton of the 112th. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 10 of Chapter 5 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions regarding the ad valorem taxation of motor vehicles.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 95 by Representative Tanner of the 9th, England of the 116th, Peake of the 141st, Carter of the 175th, and Broderick of the 4th, and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 36-83-8 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the local government investment pool.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 96 by Representative Turner of the 21st, Stover of the 71st, Clark of the 147th, Gravely of the 67th, Teasley of the 37th, and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 48-7-20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to individual state income tax rates.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 97 by Representative Turner of the 21st, Caldwell of the 20th, Cantrell of the 22nd. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 4, Chapter 18 of Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the inspection of public records.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 98 by Representative Coomer of the 14th, Caldwell of the 131st, Atwood of the 179th, Meadows of the 5th, Holcomb of the 81st, and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 6 of Title 5 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to appellate practice.
Judiciary.
House Bill 36 by Representative Benton of the 31st and Quick of the 117th, a resolution honoring the life and memory of Staff Sergeant Sean J. Whitehead and dedicating a bridge in his honor.
Transportation.
House Resolution 37 by Representative Harbin of the 122nd, Brockway of the 102nd, Abrams of the 89th, Fleming of the 121st, Turner of the 21st, and others. A resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution of the State of Georgia so as to lower the age requirements for members of the General Assembly.
Governmental Affairs.
That completes first readings.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
HB 6 by Representative Kendrick of the 93rd, a bill relating to education. HB 10 by Representative Mayo of the 84th, a bill relating to miscellaneous provisions for uniform rules of the road. HB 17 by Representative Spencer of the 180th, a bill relating to limitations of actions and child abuse and deprivation records. HB 18 by Representative Spencer of the 180th, a bill relating to professional engineers and land surveyors. HB 22 by Representative Evans of the 42nd, a bill relating to Hope Scholarships and Grants. HB 23 by Representative Evans of the 42nd, a bill relating to eligibility requirements for a Hope Scholarship. HB 24 by Representative Evans of the 42nd, a bill relating to definitions relative to Hope Scholarships and Grants. HB 25 by Representative Evans of the 42nd, a bill relating to definitions relative to Hope Scholarships and Grants. HB 34 by Representative Dudgeon of the 25th, a bill relating to health. HB 64 by Representative Efstration of the 104th, a bill relating to primaries and elections. HB 65 by Representative Caldwell of the 20th, a bill relating to elementary and secondary education. HB 66 by Representative Kidd of the 145th, a bill relating to conduct of special elections. HB 67 by Representative Kidd of the 145th, a bill to provide for the unified government of Milledgeville, Baldwin County. HB 68 by Representative Spencer of the 180th, a bill relating to persons liable for taxes on property. HB 69 by Representative Spencer of the 180th, a bill relating to motor vehicles and traffic. HB 70 by Representative Hughley of the 136th, A bill relating to state symbols, HB 71 by Representative Tanner of the 9th. A bill relating to Crime Victims' Bill of Rights and Pardons and Paroles, HB 72 by Representative Willard of the 51st. A bill relating to crimes and offenses, HB 73 by Representative Turner of the 21st. A bill relating to persons ineligible to hold office, vacation of office, validity of acts performed while in office, HB 74 by Representative Turner of the 21st. A bill relating to general provisions regarding state government, HB 75 by Representative Ralston of the 7th. A bill to amend an act making provide appropriations for the state fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2014, ending June 30th, 2015, HB 76 by Representative Ralston of the 7th. A bill to make and provide appropriations for the state fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2015, ending June 30th, 2016. HB 77 by Representative Ralston of the 7th. A bill to amend an act making and providing appropriations for the state fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2014, ending June 30th, 2015. HB 78 by Representative Ralston of the 7th. A bill to amend an act to make and provide appropriations for the state fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2014, ending June 30th, 2015. HB 79 by Representative Ralston of the 7th. A bill to make and provide appropriations for the state fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2015, ending June 30th, 2016. HB 80 by Representative Ralston of the 7th. The bill to make and provide appropriations for the state fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2015, ending July 30th, 2016. HB 81 by Representative Turner of the 21st. A bill relating to the effect of redemption of property. Through second readers.
This House will come to order. All House members on the floor, please take your seats. We have a very special and I think a solemn recognition through our next invite resolution. I'm going to ask you again, if you have matters that are more pressing than participating in this invite resolution, then please take them outside. The chair recognizes the chairman of the Defense and Veterans Affairs Committee, Chairman Yates, for an invite resolution. Chairman Yates. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We enjoyed everybody telling us how nice they liked the program yesterday, and I think this one today is kind of fits in with the same thing, since the soldiers were certainly involved in this one. My special connection to this is after the World War II, I was in the Army of Occupation flying around the countryside, and I noticed on my map at the town of Dachau that there was a prisoner of war camp there, and I landed my Piper Cub and looked through the facility, the ovens and all of that, and it was so shocking to me. It made a lifelong impression. So when I came to the legislature, I met Sylvia Wagoda, and she got me very interested very quickly in the Holocaust. And so I've had several occasions to light candles at the Oglethorpe Steps, one time with Bernie Marcus, who is one of the people who started Home Depot. And so I'm real honored today that we have some of these people in recognition of this who have kept this thing alive. I understand they have another session later in the year of the actual survivors of the Holocaust. So I want to read this resolution. They've asked me to read this, and then I'll turn it over to Ms. Sally Levine, who will recognize the people and say a few words too. Recognizing January 27, 2015 as International Holocaust Remembrance Day at the Capitol, and inviting the Georgia Commission on the Holocaust to be recognized by the House of Representatives and for other purposes. Whereas the Holocaust was a state-sponsored systematic persecution and annihilation of European Jewry by Nazi Germany and its collaborators between 1933 and 1945, during which time 6 million Jews were murdered. And whereas Roma, who is gypsies, people with disabilities, and Poles were also targeted for destruction or decimation of racial, ethnic, and national reasons. Whereas homosexuals, Jehovah's Witnesses, Soviet prisoners of war, and political dissidents also suffered grievous suppression and death under Nazi tyranny. And whereas the history of the Holocaust offers an opportunity to reflect on the moral responsibilities of individuals, societies, and government, and whereas the citizens of the state of Georgia should always remember the terrible events of the Holocaust and remain vigilant against hatred, persecution, and tyranny, and whereas the citizens of the state of Georgia should actively rededicate themselves to the principles of individual freedom in a just society, and whereas International Holocaust Remembrance Day has been set aside for the people of the state of Georgia to remember the victims of the Holocaust, as well as to reflect on the need for respect of all peoples, and whereas the United Nations General Assembly designated January 27th, which is the anniversary of the liberation of the largest Nazi killing center, Auschwitz, as International Holocaust Remembrance Day. Now therefore be it resolved by the House of Representatives that the members of this body recognize January 27, 2015 as International Holocaust Remembrance Day at the Capitol, and invite the Georgia Commission on the Holocaust to be recognized by the House of Representatives at a date and time to be determined by the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Be it further resolved that the Clerk of the House of Representatives is authorized and directed to make appropriate copies of this resolution available for distribution to the Georgia Commission to the Holocaust. So now at this time it is my distinct honor to introduce you to Sally Levine, Executive Director of the Georgia Commission on the Holocaust.
Thank you, Mr. Yates, and thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Today we're commemorating International Holocaust Remembrance Day, and some of the friends and partners of the Georgia Commission on the Holocaust are here with us today. I'd like to recognize with us up here Ambassador Ofer Aviran, Consul General of Israel to the Southeast, his successor, Ambassador Judith Schorer, Ron Brummer, Deputy Consul General of Israel to the Southeast, Michael Altman, who's the chairman of the Georgia Commission on the Holocaust, and families and friends of the people we're going to honor today, witnesses to liberation. Today, January 27th, is designated as International Holocaust Remembrance Day. This day, this year, marks the 70th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. It is our role as the Georgia Commission on the Holocaust to preserve the memory of the Holocaust and promote public understanding of the history. The Holocaust happened because individuals, organizations, and governments made choices that not only legalized discrimination, but also allowed prejudice, hatred, and ultimately mass murder to occur. The history of the Holocaust demands that we all reflect upon the moral questions raised by this event and to examine our responsibilities as citizens in a democracy. The first Nazi concentration camp, which Mr. Yates flew over in his Piper Cub, was Dachau, and it was established in March of 1933, just 2 months after Hitler came into power in Germany. The German invasion of Poland in 1939 marked the beginning of World War II, and after the bombing of Pearl Harbor in December of 1941 by the Japanese, the United States entered the war. But by 1942, the final solution, which was the Nazi plan to annihilate Europe's Jews, was being implemented in concentration camps and killing centers throughout occupied Europe. After D-Day in June of 1944, Allied troops began their advance, moving across Europe in the fight against Nazi Germany. They had seen ravages of war, yet they were unprepared for what they were about to see: death, disease, and starvation. American forces entered Buchenwald concentration camp on April 11, 1945, and Dachau on April 29, 1945, liberating thousands of survivors remaining in the camps and witnessing firsthand the horrors behind the barbed wire fences. Our honored guests who are up here today were part of that movement of liberation. They were witnesses to the liberation. They are family members representing those who liberated the camps for the United States. These witnesses to the barbarism of the Holocaust, many of them at the time young men in only their teens or 20s, took years to process what they had seen and experienced. Those memories and the responsibility to bear witness has stayed with them for the rest of their lives. These citizens of Georgia not only fulfilled their duty to their communities and to their country, but also to humanity, and for that we honor their service and their lives today. Our honorees: George Agan. George Agan lives in Valdosta. He was unable to join us today. He was a witness to the liberation at Dachau in April 45. Frank Benson, and Mrs. Benson is here with us today to honor her husband. He was a witness to the liberation of Buchenwald in April 1945. He knew how important it was to document what he saw and took photographs. Twin brothers Hilbert and Howard Margol, who are here with us today, were both liberators of Dachau, entering the camp at the beginning of liberation. They tell about their experiences. They understand how important it is to bear witness. Ms. Alexis Scott, who is here today for her father, William Alexander Scott III. He was in a segregated division. He entered Buchenwald. He took photographs of what he saw, and those photographs have become important documents of what happened during liberation. There's an exhibition that the Georgia Commission on the Holocaust has telling about William Alexander Scott's story. And finally, and not last but not least, Mr. Yates. Mr. Yates was a witness to liberation at Dachau. He flew over it in the spring of 1945, and it too has influenced his life. Eisenhower, who you may have seen in an earlier photograph, who was in Ohrdruf, made an interesting statement. He actually predicted the possibility of Holocaust denial. He said, "The things I saw beggar description. The visual evidence and the verbal testimony of starvation, cruelty, and bestiality were overpowering. I made the visit deliberately in order to be in a position to give firsthand evidence of these things if ever, in the future, there develops a tendency to charge these allegations merely to propaganda." So today, the Georgia Commission on the Holocaust, liberators, families of these liberators, we thank you for helping us to mark this very important day, the 70th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. Thank you.
You need to change the photograph on Mr. Yates.
Really?
He's still alive.
We didn't say he died, did we?
See? Get a group picture up here.
Y'all stay for a picture. Y'all stay. Can you slide over a little bit?
Thank you again, Sally.
Thank you so much.
We'll
for this
visit about the
opportunity.
other
There were a few
possible.
things,
Yeah.
right, about the trail.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
I'm gonna come down and just shake hands with everybody. I wanna greet them. Don't let them get far.
Tell them to stay there. Stay there.
How many privilege resolutions do you have? Okay, let's go ahead and get those out of the way. Clerk will read the caption to a group of privilege resolutions. Clerk will read.
Following 4 resolutions are to be referred to the Committee on Rules. Commending Jada R. Gresham, a 12-year-old 7th grade honor student at Upson Lee Middle School, inviting her to be recognized by the House of Representatives and for other purposes. Commending Amanda Milliner, a former Miss Georgia, for her accomplishment of winning the 2015 Georgia Teacher of the Year Award, and inviting her to be recognized by the House of Representatives and for other purposes. Commending Georgia State University, recognizing February 4, 2015 as Georgia State University Day at the state capitol, and inviting the Georgia State University Student Government Association to be recognized by the House of Representatives for other purposes. Commending Maya Van Vagensen, a 16-year-old award-winning teen author, and inviting her to be recognized by the House of Representatives and for other purposes. Commending the Eccles County Drama Club and inviting the members to be recognized by the House of Representatives for other purposes. Honoring the life and memory of Deputy Michael Andrew Norris, inviting his family to be recognized by the House of Representatives and for other purposes. Commending Olivia McMillan, inviting her to be recognized by the House of Representatives and for other purposes. Commending Don Graham and inviting him to be recognized by the House of Representatives and for other purposes. Commending Bart W. Jackson in the Superior Court Clerk of the Year in 2014, inviting him to be recognized by the House of Representatives and for other purposes. Honoring the life and memory of Herman Jerome H.J. Russell Sr., inviting his family to be recognized by the House of Representatives and for other purposes. Commending Mike Crosby, inviting him to be recognized by the House of Representatives and for other purposes. Recognizing and commending Dave Odom and for other purposes. Recognizing and commending Connor Wellborn and for other purposes. Recognizing and commending Bartlett Kaufman and for other purposes. Recognizing and commending Matthew Christie and for other purposes. Recognizing and commending David Hood and for other purposes. Recognizing and commending Neil Rossman and for other purposes. Recognizing and commending Hayden Stadler and for other purposes. Recognizing and commending Lawson Welburn and for other purposes. Recognizing and commending Jack Henry and for other purposes. Recognizing and commending Ben Thornton for other purposes. Recognizing and commending J.D. Pike and for other purposes. Recognizing and commending Carter Gooch and for other purposes. Recognizing and commending William Hall and for other purposes. Commending Georgia Bio for the advancement it has made in the life science industry and for its impact it's had on the state's economy and for other purposes. Recognizing December 10th as Georgia Day of Coding and for other purposes. Recognizing February 2nd, 2015 as University of West Georgia Day at the Capitol and for other purposes. Honoring the life and memory of Jim Hammock, affectionately known as Wide Track, and for other purposes. Recognizing February as Career and Technical Education Month. Recognizing February 17, 2015 as Georgia Career and Technical Student Organization Day at the State Capitol, and for other purposes. Honoring the life and memory of Mr. Lee Ed Kelly Jr., and for other purposes. Commending Kylie O'Laughlin, and for other purposes. Recognizing January 26, 27, 2015 as Tourism, Hospitality in our state at the Capitol, and for other purposes. Recognizing Court-Appointed Special Advocates Day at the State Capitol and for other purposes. Recognizing commending Campbell Chapel African Methodist Episcopal Church on the wonderful occasion of its 156th anniversary and for other purposes. Honoring and commending the USS Moal on their 70th anniversary of her commission and for other purposes. Honoring the life and memory of Allison Al Edward Venable and for other purposes. Recognizing Wednesday, January 21st, 2015 as Physical Therapy Day at the State Capitol and for other purposes. Recognizing prominent and innovative Georgia, Asian, American, and Pacific Islander voices in the field of media, press, and journalism and for other purposes. Commending the Woodstock Fire Department for achieving an ISO rating of 1 and for other purposes. That completes the reading of privilege resolutions.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the privilege resolutions? The chair hears none, and the resolutions are adopted. House will come to order. This House will be in order. We're about to recognize some distinguished Georgians. Clerk will read the caption to an invite resolution.
House Resolution 47 by Representative Stevens, the 164th. A resolution commending the Georgia House of Representatives and Georgia Economic Developers Association on their efforts to improve the economic development climate of the state of Georgia and inviting them to be recognized by the House of Representatives and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes the chairman of the Economic Development and Tourism Committee, Chairman Stevens, for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Along with Tourism Day today, and you'll see all the people from your local neighborhoods promoting tourism in the state of Georgia and the dollars that it brings. But there's another group here today, your Economic Developers Association. And those are also people in your community that goes out and looks for jobs to create jobs. They're the ones that use the code names like Blue Plate and that kind of stuff because of all the secrecy whenever these companies are trying to come in. Kevin Shea is here from DeKalb County, Anna Chapin from my area down in Bryan County, Misty Martin from Cherokee County, and would you welcome Greg Wright, who's the president from Newnan County, Representative Lynn Smith's representative for the economic developers. Please welcome Greg Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Well, good morning. On behalf of the Georgia Economic Developers Association, let me thank you for your support. That support has led the state of Georgia to be recognized as the #1 state in the nation to do business. And we could not do it without the strong support of our General Assembly. I'd like to invite you to lunch this afternoon. We'll have lunch at the train depot, and I'm sure you'll enjoy getting to meet more of my colleagues from around the state of Georgia. Workforce development, transportation, and keeping our local communities strong so we can remain competitive as a state is vitally important to our economic development success in the future. Again, we thank you for everything that you've done to help us in the past and look forward to more successes in the future.
Thank y'all very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank y'all for being here. All right, the House will continue to be in order. We're about to go on to morning orders. House will come to order. We're about to go on to morning orders. Chair would ask that you give respect and attention to the members in the well. Chair recognizes for the first morning order Representative Carson. He's joined by Representative or Chairman Pruitt and Chairman Parsons.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If we could have the picture up. I think I have a picture here. If I could have your attention for a moment. If I could have your attention. Bud and June Runyon, most of you have paid any attention to the press the past few weeks, or past few days. You know what unfortunately happened. Bud and June, this is just so unnecessary. This happened, and I can't begin to emphasize to you how much this has affected the Northeast Cobb community. They're actually constituents of Don's here. They went to my church at Mount Perrin North. Bud had these things that he would do. He was retired AT&T. Don, I don't know if you knew that. But he had a ministry called Bud's Bikes, and basically what he would do is he would collect hundreds of bicycles. I mean, the most warped things you've ever seen in your life. He would rebuild them with parts that he purchased, donated, and so forth. He would take them to the Marietta City projects all over the Southeast. He would take gifts, groceries to children all over, coal miner towns in West Virginia, various towns all over the Southeast. When you want to talk about salt of the earth people, that's Bud and June. June actually taught my son when he was 4 years old in preschool at a local church. And I'd like to get up in front of you, 200, 300 people, and say, I'm not telling my son about this because he wouldn't understand. You know what? The fact is, I don't understand. But we just got to hold to the faith and just pray that things like this don't happen again. Jimmy?
I represent the district and the county that this tragedy happened in, and the people in my county are just devastated because they don't believe that there are people who live there could do the kind of things that obviously happened. And they wanted me to share with you that their love for people and that their reputation as a county cannot be reflected by this one tragedy. And I certainly think we ought to have a time of prayer. Don, you want to say something before we do?
I would just say thank you all for sharing and honoring this couple. Thank you.
I know many people will say, what can you do? How can we reach out? There's really not much more you can do except pray. And I would just, Mr. Speaker, I know we're on a tight timeline, but if we could just have 15 seconds of moment of silence for this
Absolutely. The House will
wonderful
have
couple.
a moment of silence.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Stovall for a morning order. Representative Valencia Stovall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members of the House. This morning, I'm privileged to have here visiting with us constituents from Clayton County, from the Utopian Academy of the Arts. Will you all please stand and help to welcome them here to the state capitol?
Chair recognizes Representative Allison for a morning order. Representative Stephen Allison.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Many of you have heard that it's Tourism Day here at the Capitol, and on your desks you should have got something from the Georgia Department of Economic Development showing you the exact amount of economic development impact that tourism has in your district. I was arguing with my seatmate Alex Atwood which one of us has the best district for tourism in this state, and we both agreed that that was the Speaker. But outside of that, I believe that I represent one of the most beautiful places in this state. I am pleased to have some constituents from the Rabun Tourism Development Authority, if they would stand. Up in Rabun County, can we give them a round of applause, please? Thank you. I appreciate this body yesterday adopting House Resolution 58, which has to do with the Farm to Table initiative that has been going on in Rabun County. For those of you who have been to Rabun County, it is such a treasure to this state. 3 state parks, 3 gorgeous lakes, many wineries, apiaries, ranches. They have become the farm-to-table destination of the state. Places like the Beechwood Inn, for instance, Farmhouse at Persimmon, the Lake Burton Hotel, actually use locally grown produce, vegetables in their meals, and it's just outstanding. So we want just to recognize them for their value to economic development in Rabun County. And when y'all are looking for a great place to spend the weekend, y'all come up to Rabun County. I love it. I know you'll love it, and it's been an honor representing that area for the past 7 years. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Dudgeon for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wanted a bigger bucket for my demo here today, but I got this little one today. I think y'all remember something happened several months ago when the Ice Bucket Challenge kind of took off on social media. I know some of us here participated in that and got a bigger bucket. I was going to ice bucket myself, but I figured that Phil and the Speaker would never let me back in the House chamber ever again. But seriously, why I mentioned that today is down in Capitol 216 right now and through 1 o'clock is ALS Foundation people. They're the foundation that benefited from Ice Bucket. ALS is the terminal disease that Stephen Hawking suffers from and Lou Gehrig had. It's a progressive muscular disease that takes years but slowly takes away your movement. They're a wonderful group of people. They have lunch for you down in 216, a grab-and-go box lunch. I love for as many people as you can to stop by and learn more about their important work in 216 for ALS. And take the bucket challenge next year when it comes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Teasley for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The book of James, chapter 1, says, "My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry." As many of you know, I've been working on a measure dedicated to defending religious freedom. And over the last year, it's been my goal, really my aim, to act in a way that would reflect James chapter 1, to be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger. What the bill essentially would do is would restore a historical balancing test requiring government to demonstrate that it has a compelling government interest. It's going to burden somebody's free exercise of religion. This should not be a controversial subject. However, yesterday, running a full-page ad in my paper, a group that ironically calls itself Better Georgia says here that I have introduced a bill that would allow abusers to hide behind their religion in court. This ad is disgusting. It's abhorrent. It is totally devoid of truth. It is absolutely unimaginable to me that someone could ever use in court as a successful defense that they could hide behind their religion to defend abuse of any kind. So again, the bill simply states government's got to demonstrate this compelling government interest, and I believe we could all agree that there is a compelling government interest in preventing child abuse. You know, it's been said that if you can't stand the sight of your own blood, don't get in the arena. I appreciate that. Those words have never meant more to me than they do now. And I'm not asking for your sympathy. I'm really not. I'm asking for your help. Would you please join with me in the coming days and stand up to groups like this who are willing to lie and deceive and to smear in order to advance their own political agenda? Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Broderick for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker is always good about recognizing birthdays here in the House, and I hope you picked up on your Today in Georgia history this morning. Got a very special birthday. Today, in 1785, was the charter recognition of the University of Georgia, the first land-grant institution in the United States, and I think we should all celebrate that. And two, to our friends, cross-state friends over on North Avenue, you know, as far as our annual meeting in the fall, every now and then we got to give you one so you'll keep coming back. But today is birthday of the University of Georgia. Thank you. Thank you, Speaker.
A special day. We're going on now to announcements. If you have signed up for an announcement, then make your way to the front of the chamber. The chair recognizes the chairman of the Intergovernmental and Coordination Committee, Chairman Tankersley, for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just wanted to give you a heads up that we're going to have our organizational meeting for Intergovernmental Coordination Committee in the morning at 9 a.m. in room 403. We're going to review and adopt our committee rules, but we also are going to spend some time learning a little bit more about the local legislative process, and we've got some good folks coming to share some great information with us. So if you're a new House member or you've been around a while and want to come, we welcome you to be there too. Thank you.
Chair recognizes for an announcement the chairman of the House Appropriations Committee, Chairman England.
Good morning. Just want to let everybody know that if you haven't seen your notice, we do have a full committee meeting tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock to take up the amended budget and hopefully see it this week in this chamber. Thank you.
Chair recognizes for, oh my goodness, we made it a few days without hearing this. Chair recognizes the chairman of the Rules Committee for an announcement.
Y'all got Terry, now you got me. Rules will meet immediately following the appropriations meeting in the morning.
Chair recognizes for an announcement the Vice Chairman of the Appropriations Committee, Vice Chairman Green.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You're all invited to lunch with the Georgia Economic and Development Association down at the depot, and they'll be serving in just a little bit. So come on down and meet with some of your constituents down there. Thank you.
Chair recognizes for an announcement Representative LaRicchia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You've been mentioned already this morning that the Georgia Economic Developers are meeting over at the depot for a luncheon. And I want to just say thank you for Douglas and Coffee County sponsoring that event. That's my district. And so the economic developers are the boots on the ground that really get out there and fight to create these jobs that some of you come up here and take credit for. So we need to go over there and tell them thank you and tell them how much we appreciate them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes the chairman of the Human Relations and Aging Committee, Chairman Benton, for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our friends at the Georgia Installment Lenders Association want to remind you about a reception tonight at 191 Peachtree from 6 to 8. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Carson for an announcement. Representative John Carson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Cobb Legislative Delegation meeting in 45 minutes in room 307 of the CLOB. Cobb Legislative Delegation, CLOB 307. Thank you. At 12:30.
Chair recognizes Representative Shaw for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Rural Caucus will meet immediately upon adjournment, as usual, at the Department of Agriculture across the street to my left. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the chair of the Health and Human Services Committee, Chairman Cooper, for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the Health and Human Services Committee, you got a notice today saying that we would meet tomorrow at 2 o'clock because of another important meeting that has to have 3:41. We will not meet until 3. Probably about 3:15, let the room clear out. But that notice has been changed. Please make a note of it and make every effort to attend. We will not be meeting at 2 tomorrow. We will be meeting at 3 to 3:15, 3:41, Capitol. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Randall for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Women's Caucus will meet immediately upon adjournment in room 605. If all of you all can be there, we notice a change of day, and we want to make some decisions, and we want to take your dues. So 605 immediately upon adjournment.
Chair recognizes the chairman of the Majority Caucus, Chairman Hatchett, for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the Majority Caucus, we will be meeting tomorrow at 2 o'clock in room 341. Tomorrow at room 341, and that is a change from today. Thank you.
That completes our announcements. Page photographs will be taken at the rostrum immediately upon adjournment. Well, we have one more, I'm sorry. Chair recognizes Chairman Yates for an announcement.
There will be a meeting today at 3 o'clock, room 514, for the Fayette County delegation. Thank you very much.
Chair recognizes the Majority Leader for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move this House now stand in recess until 5 p.m. today, at which time we shall adjourn until 10 a.m. Wednesday morning, January 28, 2015.
Majority Leader has moved that this House be in recess until 5 o'clock p.m., whereupon we will be adjourned until 10 o'clock a.m. tomorrow. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Those opposed will say no. The ayes carry the day, and this House will be in recess until 5 o'clock p.m. We will then stand adjourned until 10 o'clock a.m. tomorrow.